Has Eskom squandered 2 trillion rand over the last 15 years? We speak to Paul Nel, the director of Prisma. Welcome, Paul.
Hello, Chris. Thank you for having me here.
You're welcome, Paul. Paul, you've done a 15-year analysis of Eskom's annual statements. Please tell us what you found.
Chris, we all know that the electricity are very expensive. And I have calculated how the 2 trillion rand is squandered. And basically, I look at the last 15 years with base year 2008 and see what the increases actually were of Eskom electricity tariffs and what it should have been if consumer price inflation were made applicable. And the difference in price over 15 years is 1.375 trillion rand that the consumer has been overcharged over CPI. Now, just to bring the context of the CPI into this whole calculation, Eskom's major clients are the municipalities, and the municipalities are by a law, by the constitution. They are obliged to only have CPI increases in terms of Section 71 circular, that the constitution say that the Treasury have to establish norms and standards for municipalities, and one of these norms are that expenditure and income should not be increased more than CPI. Now, this is, of course, additional to CPI. So this is an important 1.375 trillion rand we have paid too much. The other figures to go to the 2 trillion is borrowings that increased with 374 billion rand, and the equity which the taxpayers have to pay is another 242 billion rand, calculated to 1.989 trillion rand, 2 trillion rand. We have overpaid. And you know, the bottom line is that Eskom is now selling less electricity than 15 years ago. So we can with right ask, where is this 1.8 or 1.92 trillion rand?
So the 2 trillion rand has not generated more electricity for the consumer. What did the consumer get for its overpayment?
Well, as we see, we have a lot of load shedding, unreliable power, because Eskom has this 3 new power stations, which they say they want to build, that is now in Gula and Medupi and Kusile. And in 2007, in the director's report, they say they would finance this with borrowing of 100 billion and increases in tariffs of 50 billion to finance this whole thing. And we know that was not actually what happened. We pay much more, and we haven't got these units still operating. Of course, the other focus point of Eskom is to have renewable energy, and they buy that for more than what they sell it. So we are in for major deficits, and that's why Eskom is bankrupt.
Paul, tell us, when did the ANC drop the ball?
I believe that ball was dropped when they established NERSA. I think it was in 2005. I have to go into my report again. But they dropped the ball when NERSA was supposed to look at the tariff increases, and where they not looking at CPI. I don't think they have the capacity to look at at inefficiencies which they should look or which they should take into account when establishing this price increases. And of course, Treasury, Parliament, the municipalities, COCTA, they all should have ensure that these increases are not over and above the consumer price index. And they all failed us. I believe that the reason we have failed municipalities is exactly because they do not ensure tariff increases in terms of CPI, which of course would have ensured or to make it possible, there should be efficient management.
Yeah. Paul, can you give us an example of a particularly bad case of irregular or wasteful expenditure by Eskom?
Yeah. I was involved with a civil action organization in 2016-17, late 16-17. We have looked at Ingula and have a lot of copy information. Also obtained some original information by Paya. And with Ingula, there is, I think the major problem there is that these contracts are not supervised professionally. They use internal project managers, and in an NEC contract, the project manager have a very important task to ensure that increases in prices with compensation events are in terms of a contract and with legislation. And there were a lot of irrational increases with these contracts at Ingula. I'm thinking about the labor law, project labor law, lack of a project labor law, which of course should not be an increase in prices. They've got the addendum for that, and I believe it was in the region of R1 billion we pay additional to the Ingula underground project. There were also additional bonuses paid to ensure that these projects are completed within a certain time frame. That also amount to more than R1 billion. And of course, the original contract make provision to penalize a contractor if they are not completed within a time. There's penalty clauses which they just remove. There's also, and I know the penalty clauses at Ingula was R1 million a day. Sorry, I just want to get the right figures there. But the contract make provision that these work that is not done in time should be penalized with a certain amount per day. And that was never made applicable to the contract. And of course, if the contractor is not performing, these contracts have a standard clause that you can replace the contractor. And the contractor have then to be made to pay the difference between the new contractor and what their contract price is if they are not performing. So really, they have not managed this in terms of the contract conditions. And of course, with Ingula, there was 3 contractors that formed a joint partners to build Ingula, and these 3 contractors, 2 of them were appointed with a tendering process, and the third one, Impregello, an Italian company, were appointed 6 months afterwards without a tendering process. So that we can with right ask, should this contract not be cancelled? So this is a few examples, and I can give you more of that.
Is there another example that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, in terms of the EU International report on this additional work, and these additional work, these large amounts, there were addendums to the contract that was approved by the Council of Eskom. With Ingula, the accident, there was a lot of standstill time. And according to the EU report, these claims should have been limited to R1 billion, and Eskom paid 2.7 billion rand for these claims, which were not even adjudicated in terms of these NEC contracts. So really it is at least wasteful expenditure, but I believe there is corruption as well.
Now, with Eskom being practically bankrupt, Paul, how can these billions be recovered?
Yeah, I must say, what is shocking to me, and more work should have been done to this, but I have the opportunity also to look at the contracts of Medupi and Kusile, only for a very short period and not allowed to have a camera or pen with me. And with Medupi, the ANC have, and it's general knowledge, as a financial interest in Hitachi, South Africa. With Medupi, the cheapest contract for Medupi was Alstom, the French company, for the boilers and the turbines. But Eskom approve or allocate the boiler, that's a larger contract, to Hitachi. And within the evaluation report, they say that Alstom did not provide the piping between the boiler and the turbines. And when I have a look at that, and that's why they allocated it to Hitachi. And when I have a look at it, it was clear that Alstom did tender for this piping. And then you can with right ask, should this contract not be cancelled as well with the boiler and with Hitachi? And the Kusile contracts were a copy of Medupi. So the same conditions apply with the same contractors appointed. So yeah, this is major problem. And what I also see with these contracts is that the project labor law or the lack of that are also make applicable as compensation events and as addendums to these contracts, just like in Gula. And the same with the bonuses, where the penalty clauses were replaced with new bonus payments, costing the public billions and billions of rands. So yeah, no, there is for sure bad management. And I believe, with these big contracts, and especially with NEC contracts, but also with the FIDI contracts, your project manager is so important, because that person has to decide on all the variance orders or the compensation events. And if there is variances, you have to have the technical knowledge and the skills and expertise and the team available to make sure that the best price, the best quality, and time is made applicable with that and where the priority should be, and that he should ensure that Eskom and of course the consumer of Eskom, the South African public, are not paying more than what they should. They should be cost efficient, and they miserably not ensure this basics. And what should have happened and what had happened in better controlled infrastructure projects. I was also involved with Germiston and with the regional services councils that build infrastructure, is they appoint an international company to do the consulting engineer work and the management, and also have professional quantity surveyors applicable with the expertise, which Eskom did not do. They use internal people, and of course, these people do not have all the experience and what the international company have, and they could have been manipulated to ensure that overpayments have been made, and what we have seen occur.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. That was Paul Nel of Prisma speaking to Biz News. I'm Steyn.